Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Today's topic is going to be about a novel called The Season of Migration to the North, written by Tayeb Salih, first published in Arabic language in 1966. It is considered one of the most important works of modern Arabic literature and a key postcolonial text. Overview of this novel. The author, as they said, it is tayeb salih. He's a Sudanese writer, and original language this novel was written by was in Arabic language. First publication published in 1966. Serin was Sudan primary with significant reference to the England plot summary. The story follows a nameless narrator who returned to his Sudan village after studying in UK, England. He meets a mysterious new villager, Mustafa Saeed, whose dark past and experience in Europe slowly unveil. As the narrator learns more about Mustafa, he becomes entangled in a complex narrative about colonialism, identity, gender, and cultural dislocation. Mustafa is revealed to have been a brilliant student who lived in London, where his relationship with European woman ended in a tragedy. His story mirrors and critiques the legacy of colonialism, particularly how it affects personal and national identity. Key themes for this novel: colonialism and the post-colonial identity. The novel explores the psychological and cultural impact of British colonialism on Sudan and its people at the area. Also, there is the theme East versus West. It critiques the power dynamics and stereotype between the colonizer, which is Europe, Empire, British Empire at that time, and the colonized, which is Africa, Middle East, and particularly Sudan. Masculinity and power through Mustafa relationship, as I explores the use of sexuality as a form of control and resistance, memory and history. The narrative often shifts between past and present, highlighting few historical trauma influences individual lives. Literary style, which is means rich and poetic prose, non-linear narrative, and unreliable narrator, and deep psychological introspection. And among the significances, we can regard it as a masterpiece of Arabic literature, often compared to Joseph Conrad, A Heart of Darkness, but in a reversed colonialism guise, and included in the Arabic Orator Union list one of the top 100 Arabic of the 20th century novel written. Here is the character breakdown. As I mentioned, the narrator, it is unnamed and educated in England and recently returned to his village in Sudan. Represents the in-between identity of postcolonial subject, torn between Western education and traditional roots. Acts as a foil to Mustafa Assad and a lens through which the story is told. Mustafa Saad, a brilliant, enigmatic Sudanese man who also studied in England, charismatic and cultural but deeply troubled. He seduces and destroys several white women in London. And there is also Husna bint Muhammad, which is Mustafa's widow, forced into marriage after his death. Her tragic fate exposes the deep gender inequalities in Sudan society, becomes a symbol of female victimhood in both colonial and patriarchal system. And among the major symbols, there is the Nile, a central symbol throughout the novel, and it represents continuity and tradition and life and death. Its waters are where a crucial moment Mustafa disappears. The narrator crisis occur. Mustafa room, I locked Western style study field with books, photographs, and paper symbolize the secret colonial past, hidden trauma, and the constructed identity of Mustafa. The desert versus the city. Rural Sudan is associated with community and tradition, while London is depicted as a seductive, alienating space. Those two geographic reflects the internal fragmentation of post-colonial identity. There is also this the deep themes and analysis, the double consciousness and split identity. Both the narrator and Mustafa Saad embody the idea of double consciousness, the sense of looking at oneself through the eyes of the colonizer. Mustafa lives a fragmented life, one identity in Sudan, another in Europe. He masters the language and culture of the British, yet he is ultimately alienated, and although his intelligence becomes a weapon, but one that turns against him. The narrator, unlike Mustafa, he attempts a recognition between the two worlds, but his journey ends in ambiguity and uncertainty. Gender parity and misogyny. Salih draws a parallel between colonial domination and the patriarchal oppression. The British women are seduced, dominated, and destroyed by Mustafa. Husna, Mustafa's wife, is similarly dominated by Sudanese male expectation. After resisting forced remarriage, she is raped and murdered by her second husband, Wad Reis. While the novel critiques colonial power, it also highlights the oppression of women in traditional Sudanese society. The violence done to women, both European and Sudanese, reflects a broader critics of male power regardless of cultural origin. Language. Mustafa, master of the English language, and his Western education is both a tool of empowerment and alienation. He becomes a creature of empire, fluent in the colonizer idiom, yet language fails to heal the rift between his inner self and the mask he wears. The narrator mirrors Mustafa more than he admits. Their journey echo each other. Both go abroad, both return changed, both become implicated in violence. The narrator in failing to prevent Hasnan's fate. Mustafa's final disappearance was it suicide or escape? The ambiguity forces the narrator and the reader to confront their own role in the society. Circular structure. The novel begins and ends at the Nile, suggesting that while individual may change, the border structure, colonial legacy, patriarchal trauma persists. Synchronically, comparative context expanded. Things fall apart by choices. So to come up to a conclusion, I tragic anti-epic. The season of migration to the north is not just a novel about a colonial aftermath. It is a tragic anti-epic that dismates grand narrative of progress, revenge, or return. The post-colonial subjects cannot return home unscared. The colonizer towards education, language, power cannot not fully literate or even liberate the colonized, and the cycle of domination, whether by empire or patriarchy, often continues in different cases. This is the summary or conclusion of this most beautiful novel. I hope that all the people that enjoy this analysis and summary, I hope that you hit this subscribe button, and don't forget to like our content in order to publish more. Thank you for watching.